He rode a bicycle to work. He cut his own salary to the equivalent of a teacher's wage. He refused foreign aid with strings attached. He planted 10 million trees in 1 year. In 4 years, he turned one of Africa's poorest countries into a nation of upright people, free, proud, and self-sufficient. On October 15th, 1987, the man who helped him get to power walked into a meeting room and had him shot 12 times. His name was Thomas Sankara, and the man who killed him was his best friend.
Thomas Sankara became president of Burkina Faso in 1983, at just 33 years old. The country he inherited was called Upper Volta, one of the poorest, most aid-dependent nations on Earth. Within 1 year, he renamed it Burkina Faso, Land of Upright People. It was not just a name change, it was a declaration of identity. He vaccinated 2.5 million children against measles, meningitis, and yellow fever in a single week. He redistributed land from feudal landlords to peasant farmers. He built schools, roads, and railways using local labor and local materials, refusing to borrow from the IMF or World Bank. He banned government officials from using Mercedes cars and flying first class. He sold the government's fleet of luxury vehicles and replaced them with the cheapest car available, the Renault 5. He was the first African leader to put women's rights at the center of government policy, appointing women to senior military and government positions when the rest of Africa wasn't even having that conversation.
Behind every revolution is a brotherhood. Sankara's was Blaise Compaoré. They had trained together in the military, fought together on the border, rose through the ranks together. When Sankara was imprisoned by the government in 1983, it was Compaoré who freed him and put him in power. But power changes people. Compaoré had married into a wealthy family with ties to foreign business and military interests. He began meeting quietly with French envoys, with Ivorian officials, with people whose interests Sankara's revolution directly threatened. By 1987, people close to the presidency said the two men barely spoke in private. The distance between them was no longer just political. It was personal, and it was dangerous. Sankara reportedly told a colleague weeks before his death, "Compaoré will kill me."
October 15th, 1987, Ouagadougou. A routine government meeting. Sankara arrived with 12 colleagues. They were unarmed. It was supposed to be a normal day. Armed soldiers surrounded the building. Gunfire broke out. Sankara's colleagues scattered in panic. Sankara stood up. He told his men, "Stay put." Then he walked toward the soldiers with his hands raised. His last recorded words were, "It's me they want." He was shot 12 times. He was 37 years old. Within hours, Compaoré appeared on state radio. He didn't deny Sankara's death. He called it a tragic accident, a fratricidal struggle. Then he declared himself the new leader of Burkina Faso.
What happened next was a systematic erasure. Anti-corruption tribunals were shut down. Foreign aid resumed. The IMF returned. The revolution was officially over. Sankara's body was buried quickly in an unmarked grave. His name was banned from official discourse. Mentioning him in public became risky. No investigation was opened. No monument was built. France, whose firms Sankara had blocked from exploiting Burkinabe resources, said nothing. President Mitterrand, who had once publicly praised Sankara, offered no comment on his death. French classified documents relating to the assassination exist to this day.
But you cannot bury an idea. For 27 years, Compaoré ruled Burkina Faso. For 27 years, Sankara's name was officially silenced. But in private, in songs, in stories, in universities, in the eyes of young activists, he never died. In 2014, when Compaoré attempted to extend his rule by changing the constitution, the people of Burkina Faso rose up. They stormed the National Assembly. They burned it down. They chanted one name: Sankara. Compaoré fled to Ivory Coast. He has lived in exile ever since. In 2022, 35 years after the assassination, a military court in Ouagadougou finally delivered its verdict. Compaoré was found guilty of murder, sentenced to life in prison, in absentia, because he refused to return and face justice. Who really killed Thomas Sankara? Compaoré pulled the trigger, or ordered it pulled. That much is now proven in court. But the question that remains unanswered is who was behind Compaoré? France had motive. Ivory Coast had motive. The IMF had motive. Every foreign power and institution that Sankara had defied had motive. The classified documents in Paris might answer that question, but they remain locked away. And the man who could answer it lives comfortably in a villa in Abidjan, protected by a government that has refused every extradition request. Think about what Sankara built in just 4 years. Then ask yourself, what would Africa look like today if he had been allowed to finish what he started? That question has no answer, and that is exactly what they intended. This is Untold Africa. Thomas Sankara was not just a president. He was proof that African leadership could be different, honest, humble, revolutionary. And that proof was precisely why he had to be removed. Before his death, Sankara said, "You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness." In this case, it comes from nonconformity, the courage to turn your back on the old formulas, the courage to invent the future. They killed the man. They could not kill the words. Africa's story is still being written, and the names they tried to erase are the ones we remember most. We will keep uncovering them.